Hey there, Libra. Happy new moon. It's the new moon in Cancer today. And this forecast is about taking you from the new moon in Cancer today on the 25th of June, right the way through to the full moon on the 10th of July. That's the full moon in Capricorn. Now, today's new moon, the new moon in Cancer, is in your 10th house. It's in a very, very prominent place in your chart. And ordinarily, it tends to have a theme of coming home to yourself, a theme of softness and gentleness, and a theme of really wanting to come into comfort. And right now, I actually think there's an underlying sense of chaos underneath this new moon. So to me, it feels a little bit more like a full moon than a new moon. Now, on this journey to the full moon in Capricorn, which is going to be in your fourth house, again, a really active and important part of your chart. This full moon in Capricorn is making us work harder, a lot harder than usual. And it's testing our resiliency. You know, it's in a square. The sun is in a square, the moon is in a square to Chiron, the wounded healer. And this is making us a little bit unsteady. You know, it doesn't feel quite as gentle as usual. But here's the big noise. In between these two moons, there's also Uranus changing signs from your 8th house and going into your 9th. Now, Uranus doesn't change signs often. It's a 7-year affair. The last time he went into this, he started going into the sign of Taurus in 2018, and he officially fully went in March of 2019. But he is now in his new capacity going into the sign of Gemini, and he's going to be there until 2032. So this is representing a new era of freedom and liberty and truth, and also change. You know, that's one of the things with Uranus, is this sense of constant change. So what I want to bring about through this short recording is to answer 3 questions for you that may well be puzzling you, but I'm going to hopefully attempt to answer. How are you shattering your limits right now? Because, you know, Uranus really does have a bit of a shatter effect. So how are you shattering or breaking those limits, those things that are holding you in place? How are you making an empowered choice right now? And how are you building foundations for a brighter future? Because I think if we can get a sense of that, you might, I think that could be quite reassuring in terms of how you're planning your next 2 weeks and beyond that. Now, if you're new to this channel, hi, my name is Louisa Tanner-Munson. Welcome to Feel Good Astrology. I try and create material that's going to create a sense of reassurance, but also open up your mind to all sorts of potentials. I think a lot of astrology can be sometimes very fatalistic and saying, oh, well, this is happening and this means this. And really, that's not what I want to present. I always want to present a few different pictures so that you get that sense of choice and opportunity. Now, talking about choice and opportunity, I just want to show you that, you know, accompanying this particular 2-week forecast, there's quite a lot of material that could give you some extra an extra lift too. So for instance, today I'm also releasing a much deeper dive into this particular time period of radical reclaim. And this is for all signs. You know, I will look more at both Mercury and Venus, a lot more at Uranus, a lot more at I think Saturn, which is at the midpoint between Pluto and Uranus right now. It's a much deeper investigation of what's going on. I've also got a Jupiter in Cancer video, which is really valid. You know, it's going to be in the sign of Cancer until I think, is it June or July of next year? So it's going to be there for quite a while. I've also got my recent new moon in Cancer release. It says 2 Yods here because there are 2 Yods at the time of the new moon. It's a very strong, particular, you know, a really, really strong new moon. And I've also got a Uranus playlist whereby you can listen to, you know, for instance, if you know that Uranus is in your 5th house or your 7th house or your 10th house at birth, you can select the exact forecast for you. So that could also be very useful. Just before we get going, I do want to also say that I've designed these forecasts with a Western tropical whole sign model. And what that means is for every house, like there are 12 houses in a birth chart, I assign 1 sign per house. But in reality, you know, if you've been using astrology for quite a while, you may well use Placidus. I know I use Placidus with my clients, you know, unless they ask otherwise. But when I'm working with people, I'm using Placidus for my chart too. And with Placidus, you may well have 2 signs in your first house, the ascendant sign and then the second sign in. So for instance, if you've got Libra ascendant, you might have Libra in your first house, but you might also have some Scorpio in your first house too. So I would recommend that you listen to both Libra and Scorpio. Speaking of which, lots of people pick the sun sign to listen to, and you're really, really free to do that. I get great feedback from people who listen to their sun sign as well. So there you go. That's potentially 3 different videos you could listen to for a little bit of extra guidance. So I'm going to be looking at 2 charts in particular and toggling between them, and that is the new moon chart and also the full moon chart. But before I go any further, I just want to thank every one of you wonderful people who help to support my channel and help to keep me going. You also really encourage me and lift me up. So I'm so full of appreciation to you. Thank you so much. Anyway, let's get on with this. So yes, I said this is a very important time. This is the new moon in Cancer chart. You can see it up here. There's the new moon. The new moon is when the moon and the sun are tightly together. You'll see Jupiter's also there. Now, a lot of people say that when a planet is really, really close to the sun, but not exactly in the place of the sun, that they get burnt out by the sun's rays. I do think that's quite true. However, in this instance, Jupiter is super strong. You know, he is in the sign of Cancer, which I think boosts him up. And so right now, the sort of Cancerian energy that the new moon is taking place in has already been kind of soaked with this Jupiterian energy, this sense of expansion, this sense of hope and optimism, and also this sense of kind of boisterous fun. It's kind of in your face. And so this new moon, I think, is really bringing up some new possibilities in terms of your mission in life and what you're dedicated to. And that may well be your career, but it might also be, you know, your life's work, you know, your sense of destiny. So, you know, new moons are always about new starts that we're going ahead with. And so to me, there is an invitation for you to have some kind of breakthrough, or not breakthrough, but like a breaking beyond the breakthrough. Like I really see that you're really starting to move forwards, that your career or your mission or the thing you're dedicated to is really starting to move. It's got legs, you know, it's really starting to take off. So I'm really excited about this. To me, this is a great new start for you. Now, if I flick to the full moon in Capricorn, which is happening on the 10th of July, you'll see that the moon is going to go right the way around here on its orbit, and it's going to stop here. And so the emphasis, the sun will be up in the 10th and the moon will be down in the 4th. There it is. And so then your energies around the time of the full moon are going to be pulled really into your home and to what makes you feel secure, what makes you feel stable, to your family, to your actual physical house, and also your body, you know, because obviously you're living in your body. But I really think the this 4th house is also the very private, like it's the lowest part of your chart. It's the place that's most hidden. It's almost like you going back into your cave. And so I really do see there's this tension between the new vision that you're creating for yourself that's having you be a lot more public, a lot more visible, that what you're creating is seen in the world. And then there is this tension around the time of the full moon in Capricorn that, oh, it might be too soon. I might not be ready. Am I fully ready to embrace my destiny? Or am I going to go back into hiding? So I think it's really kind of bringing some stress. And you might well feel that there are these distractions and home is pulling you back. You know, like, you know, I work from home, obviously, and I can find 1,000,001 reasons to not do a forecast. You know, so I'll say, oh, I just need to make enough cup of tea. Oh, I just put some washing on. I just hang it out. And, you know, I can find lots of things. I can always find things to help me hide and help me not do what I really want to do, which is my mission. So anywhere where you've got that going on, you know, where you are ready to do it, but then something just clicks in and you're like, oh, no, I'm not ready yet. Actually, it's got nothing to do with the myriad of tasks that you've got going on at home. It's more to do with your courage and your readiness. And so maybe with this new moon in Cancer, what you might choose to focus on is, how do I get ready? How do I fully come into my readiness? How do I fully come into my courage? And so if you're asking those questions around the time of the new moon and kind of meditating on those over the next few days, I do believe the real answers are going to start to come in. I think that's going to be quite wonderful, in fact, really quite helpful. So that's my first thought as I look at this. Now, if I go and consider also, like, you're a Libra. And so the Libran energy is ruled by Venus. And Venus has got such a strong message in this 2-week forecast, in particular towards the end. And in fact, this is quite cool because before I go there, the new moon is sort of when it said it's full darkness. And as it comes up to the full moon, the moon appears to grow. It's not growing, but things are getting more and more illuminated. In this first week, up until the first quarter, I think you're going to be in a space of creating in privacy, in the quiet of your mind. You're going to be slowly making these intentions. You don't really have to take action. You don't really have to get off your backside necessarily. You just have to be putting in that sort of intentional space and enjoying the feeling of what you're creating before you've actually created it. And then as you're coming up to this time, the 4th, to me, it's like it's time to take some steps. Now, there's a kind of emptiness from the 3rd to the 30th until the 3rd. And to me, this is a time when you can, I think, get some of the laundry out of the way. This is a time when you could step back and be a little bit distracted, clear a bit of space, because from the 4th, boy, oh boy, things are starting to move forwards at quite a fast pace. So if I go to the original chart, it has Venus here and Uranus here, and they're almost in conjunction, but they're just a little bit too far away. But by the 26th, 27th, Venus is just coming into that orb of being in an exact the same space as Uranus. And so between the new moon and the full moon, Venus is going to come up. And on the 4th, she's going to be exactly in this space with Uranus. This is the last time Venus and Uranus are getting together in the sign of Taurus. This is marking the end of the Venus-Uranus relationship in the sign of Taurus, whereby she might have been bringing in a sense of surprise with love, surprise with partners, maybe even a few shocks with your partners. But there is a new sense of partnership, because obviously Venus is very much about partnership, but there is going to be a new theme to it, so on the 4th she's making that connection, then she's going into Gemini, and then on the 7th Uranus comes across. Now if I switch to this one, you'll see Venus keeps on moving but by the end of this time, Venus has really come into this conjunction and started to move away. She's still just in a conjunction with Uranus. To me, what this is saying is, Venus represents love and flow and beauty and attractiveness and sharing and generosity and ease and peace. And she can also represent a new partner. And Uranus is full of shocks and surprises, but also spontaneity, being in the right place at the right time, following your spirit, following a calling. So to me, I think there could be something very serendipitous happening between the 4th and the 7th. It's a very, very strong time. Not only are Venus and Uranus doing their thing, but they're both connected really strongly to both Saturn and Neptune, which is giving stability and creativity, and also very much supported by Pluto, really helping them to do something very transformative. And so as this happens, both of them are moving into the 9th house, and the 9th house is awakening this stirring. It's inviting you to the call of the wild, so the 9th house is everything that is foreign to you. Its polarity is in the 3rd house. The 3rd house is that everything that's familiar to you, everything that's local to you. It's your community, it's your siblings, your cousins, all those kids you grew up with. That's the normality of life. And yet where Uranus and Venus are coming, and remember, Venus is your ruling planet, they are coming into this place of not normal, not known, unknown. You're going into a place of adventure. You're going into a place of expansion. So like an expanded place with Uranus in it, I think is really quite exciting. So Uranus is probably going to break down over the next 7 years a lot of your thoughts and feelings about the world, spirituality, religion, politics, probably, law, and how everything works. All of the bigger subjects, the bigger context of life, I do see this really surprise awakening coming. Now, I also want to sort of put in some sort of reference to Jupiter, because in the last year, Jupiter's been through this place. And so I think Jupiter has been a bit of a warm-up act. Jupiter and Uranus work really quite well together, because Jupiter is warm and open-hearted, and he's very expansive, and he does have this element of truth. It's more of a philosophical truth that he's fascinated with. He's quite faithful, not to his wives, but to the principle of things. He's all about faith and religion. And Uranus here is cracking it open even wider for a much deeper examination. Uranus is yes, he's about truth. He's about the shocking truth that might come up and the chaos that might entail when that truth comes to the surface and shocks the hell out of everybody. So Uranus is coming here, but you've already been opened into this. You've already been initiated into a greater sense of what's going on in your life, in your world, in terms of your existence. Like, what is existence all about? I do think you're going to do some really big shifts in the way you think over the next 7 years. Pretty sure of that. So yeah, there is a definite swell of a new pattern. And of course, with the sort of new feelings going on in existing relationships, yeah, there's a lot to contend with. So what I want to answer now is the 3 questions I said I was going to pay attention to. The first one: how are you shattering your limits? How are you preparing to have your mind blown? Well, I think how you're shattering your limits right now, Libra, is from being in a place of openness and receptivity. The more you can be open to just all of life, I think the better off you'll be. I've got a great friend called Sarah who talks, she is well versed in access consciousness, and she talks about, or she's taught me about how, and I'm sure someone will correct me because I'm going to say it wrong. Do you know what? I'm going to look it up before I fluff it. 1 second. Okay, so what I was struggling to say is, I think if you can create a place in your mind or an openness where everything exists and nothing is judged, where all is welcome and nothing is judged, where you can take in information and don't immediately judge it. You just accept it. Like, stuff comes in and you take it in as if it's information, not as if it's an attack, not as if it's a trigger, not as if it's an emotional guilt bomb or anything like that. You just take everything in. You're not judging everything. You're opening up. I think that is the first part of how you're shattering the limits, because that actually goes against the grain for most people. Most people are already in a place of preconceived ideas. And so new stuff comes in and you've already got your filter of what is accepted in your mind body system. And you say, no. And it kind of comes in and you kind of push it out. For you, how you're shattering your limits, all of a sudden you're saying, okay, I'm going to drop those defenses a little bit. Right now my mind is open. It's important for me to open my mind to all possibilities. And in doing so, you can actually bring about a much better discernment, because everything is given a chance. Everything is given a chance to come in and show itself, if that makes sense. So I think that's how you're shattering limits, is with a sense of openness. How are you making empowered choices? I would say, if your choices are based on, does this free me? Does this awaken me? Does this give me a sense of possibility? Then you really are making empowered choices. If you're thinking, this is the only thing I can do right now, or I have no choice right now because this is like this, this is like this, and this is like this. Therefore, my only real choice is this. If that's how you're making your choices right now, you're not in that place of empowerment. For you to be empowerment, it's to really consider what you would really like, and to consider that it might be possible, even if it doesn't look like it's possible, but just to stay in that place of possibility. I think that is how you're making empowered choices right now. And how are you building foundations for a brighter future? Wow, I think by recognizing that you're currently in the time of repeated cycles, I think you're understanding, like for instance, Jupiter is right here at the top of the chart, and he comes back here every 12 years. Uranus is just changing signs, and he's changing signs every 7 years or every 84 years to go around the block. There are cycles within cycles, and in understanding the cycles, you're coming into this such a powerful time, obviously, because Jupiter here is opening you up for another time, another moment to burst forwards with your legacy idea, to burst forwards with your idea on how you might be in the world. And Uranus is really opening your mind, which I think is feeding that. He's opening you up. In 7 years' time, your ideas are going to take another leap forwards, whereby your need to work in such a way that is completely freeing and completely liberated, where you haven't got anyone telling you what to do. You don't have to do anything in a particular time, that you are the one that is determining your life. That will be coming up in about 7 years' time. And so right now, understanding those cycles, understanding that right now is an important part of what is going on in the flow of life. I think that's also how you'll be building great foundations, because you'll be building with purpose. So for me, as I'm looking at this, I just think openness is the way forwards for you. Now, if you've liked the way I've read this for you and you like my vibe in general, you might be interested to know that every time I release these forecasts, every 2 weeks, I also do a romance and connection version. And I also do a career and ambition version. And I release those to my members. And so I'm inviting you to consider what it might be to get 4 extra forecasts every month. So I do them for all signs of the zodiac. And if you're a member of my membership, you also get to play around. So for instance, you can look at your sun, you can look at your moon sign, your ascendant. You could check those out for your other half, and so on and so forth. I also do 2, not 1, 2 complimentary hangouts a month. So every 2 weeks, I organize a Zoom call. And, if you're wanting to learn and share about astrology and study a little bit, we meet with our charts, and I bring the charts up on the screen, and we talk about what's going on for us. So we can get to see these patterns that are repeating and get to see how we are living within these patterns and how they're working. These are some of the things we've spoken about just this year. And soon we're going to be doing a lot of stuff with outer planets, dwarf planets, Uranus and Gemini, and also talking about generational things and locational things as well. I need to update this actually. I also do a Monday to Friday forecast, a daily forecast, to give you a heads up. And the community decides which asteroids I might put in. So we're being really, really playful. And there's loads of other things going on. But if that sounds like the kind of thing you'd like to get involved in, then just check it out. There's 1 week's free trial. And the links are all below in the description fields. And, if you want to try something else out, there's also a link for a service called AstroNext, which is a new WhatsApp astrology answering service, so you can type in a question that you want, your time, place, and date of birth, and it will come up with an answer for you. And if you're interested in that, there's 5 free questions, I believe. Just click on the link and voila, it's there for you. So anyway, I hope that's helpful to you, Libra. Wishing you a really fantastic 2 weeks ahead during these really, really big times across your 4th and your 10th house. So much love, and hopefully we'll catch up real soon. Bye for now.